Welcome in, everyone, to this minor league production of a major roster projection for the United States of America's 2026 World Baseball Classic team. My name is Party Goggles, but I go by Jay. And today, I'm pretty excited to show you something a little bit different from last video. This time, we're going to be analyzing Team USA's pitchers. So, I just want to get a couple things out of the way in this introduction. Okay, when I originally had kind of started doing this, it was my intention to create a clean 30-man roster for Team USA and say these are the guys that need to go. Well, I was able to do the position players with some ease, but doing the pitchers is, I've been trying to do it for 6 weeks, and after about that long, I'm just going to tell you flat out, it's impossible. And there's a number of reasons for that. So I just think one of the main ones is that pitchers are extremely volatile, kind of with respect to their performance. And it's really not uncommon for a guy to just be absolutely dominating on the bump, folding dudes and blowing their doors off for a significant portion of the season, and then kind of out of nowhere turning into total dog water and consequently a massive liability. And furthermore, I feel like it's pretty well known that pitching takes a very hard toll on the body. So because of that, pitchers are uniquely subject to a variety, and I do mean a variety of injuries. Due to the dynamics of ramping up for the WBC, it's just really difficult to predict if a guy will even be willing to do it. And then due to the volatility, if a guy should be able to do it. And because of injuries, if a guy is even able to participate in general. And it's no secret also that Team USA has really historically struggled to convince elite arms to take part in the WBC. And granted, some guys have been willing to do it, but I just feel kind of that if we look back at 2023, I don't want to mention anyone specifically, but I have a great respect for everybody who plays professional baseball and any high level of baseball, but Team USA could probably have had better, well, they definitely should have had better names in 2023 than what we got at the end of the day for the tournament. So my sincere hope is that for the future of this tournament, we're able to legitimize not only the position players, which I think that we're kind of building a culture of doing right now, but also the rotation and the bullpen. So hopefully for the future of this tournament, including 2026, we are able to be represented by the best that the United States has to offer on the bump. So because of all these factors, I'm not going to present a list of 15 names. What I have to show you today is kind of like a tier list of sorts. Tier 1, there are 3 tiers. So Tier 1 are guys that I feel really need to be there in order for it to legitimately be Team USA's pitching squad. And also, they just give the United States the best chance at winning a championship, in my opinion. It's not going to just be, you know how I operate. It's not going to be just guys that are having extremely good seasons. I take into consideration a lot of things when preparing these for you. So it's not just guys that are having great seasons. I look at things like what role can they play. I look at things like righty-lefty balance. So there's a lot more to take into consideration than just someone having a good 2025 season. So that's Tier 1. Tier 2 is full of arms that I think can really operate as great supplements to people in Tier 1 and guys that I have a lot of confidence in to be able to step up and trust in playing a significant role in the team's success. Tier 3 is guys that I feel have the potential to move up in tiers, and also just people that I kind of want to loosely track. I'm not writing down their stats in my Excel file and everything that I'll show you at the end of this after we get through some names here. But they're guys that I'm just writing down the names of, and I'll check in on them from time to time. If some of them get better and some of our higher tier guys go down, which is more than likely, unfortunately, they're going to be the first ones that I look at in moving up. So Again, really quick before we start dropping names, I just want to say that if you are a lover of international baseball, the WBC, or just talking ball in general, then hit the subscribe button because it really is. I really want to dive deeply into roster construction for the major teams in this tournament. I'm not somebody who really loves making YouTube videos, and I don't live for content creation, but I do really like this tournament, and I have a passion for it. And I want to share that passion with others because I think it's such a big deal, and we need to get it out there. I mean, it's June already, and I feel like people just aren't talking about this a ton. So if you want to hear more about the World Baseball Classic, then stick around, man. I think you're really going to like it here. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's start going through these names. So the first name on this list is going to be none other than Paul Skeens. He's already committed to the team. By the way, I forgot to mention this in the video. So as of the day that I'm recording this, Bobby Witt Jr. did commit to playing publicly, at least, for Team USA's roster. And I think that that's pretty cool because we hit the nail on the head there in our first video. So now back to our regularly scheduled programming, talking about the pitchers. Paul Skeens committed a while ago, and I really can't think of a better guy to represent and headline Team USA's rotation. Obviously, him being a former Air Force cadet is pretty cool, but also he's just one of the best young dominant arms in baseball. Nobody really wants to face Paul Skeens. If you haven't watched him pitch, he's got some nasty stuff, man. I really recommend that you go check it out. There is a little bit of a walks concern, but I mean his swing and miss stuff is incredible. It's one of the best in the league. So I don't necessarily worry about his walks too much because everything that the campaign that he's putting together in 2025 is, I think it speaks for itself. He deserves to be here. He should be our best right-handed option, and I'm excited to see him in the WBC. Knock on wood that this guy and everyone else on these lists stays healthy, man, because he's someone who could really help change the culture that I was talking about, where we might be able to convince at least younger, more elite arms in the MLB to do this. So I want to move on to our next guy now. This next guy is the 2024 American League Cy Young winner. It is Tarik Skubal. So, I mean, his strikeout ratio is it's nuts. I think he's the best lefty arm in baseball. He's obviously got that really good fastball. He's got great wipeout stuff for his off-speed pitches, and yeah, I mean he's a winner. He helps people, he helps his team win games. It's kind of interesting if you don't know, I use Baseball Reference a lot Baseball Reference and Baseball Savant to kind of construct these things. I think I said that in the last video too, but his Baseball Savant, those little bars that they use to measure guys, it's insane how much red there is on there. He really impresses me, not only with his on-field performance, but also just his mentality in general. I love how he pitches with a lot of emotion. I would be very, very excited for Skubal to be pitching in the WBC. And again, this is guys that I feel like have to be there in order for this to legitimately be Team USA. And if you don't have Tarik Skubal and he's available, then it's not Team USA. All right, so moving on to our next guy. He's a 2021 World Series champion. And, another lefty arm. Let's see who it is. It's got to be Max Fried. Yeah, that was one of the corniest transitions ever. Anyway, it's got to be Max Fried. It's interesting, when you look at Max Fried, and I do care about peripheral stats. I do analyze them. I put a lot more stock into them for bullpen arms than I do for starting pitchers, just because I like to look at bullpen arm stuff, and I like to look at, I guess, more of reality for starters, because they just have a lot more that you can measure, a lot more innings, obviously. Anyway, now that tangent's over, Max Fried doesn't necessarily have great peripheral numbers. If you were to look at him on Baseball Savant, there is not a lot of red outside of the first couple bars. So he's kind of known as more of a finesse pitcher, a pitch to contact guy, which I think is it's a great compliment to have for somebody like Skubal. You can change the pace. You can kind of bring in a guy who can get outs in a different way. And in the WBC, where there are pitch count limits, you do need people who can induce contact because they can pitch for longer. So Max Fried is having an incredible year. I love watching him pitch. I watched him do it against the Reds the other day, and he just completely shut us down. So he's got good control, and I think he's a good complement, a good change of pace to some of the more power arms that I have in Tier 1. And so is this next guy. He's kind of a good hybrid of a power arm and a pitch-to-contact person. It's definitely got to be Logan Webb. Logan Webb, I learned so much about him putting this together. I knew that I wanted him here because he didn't have the opportunity to do the 2023 WBC because of, I think it was like an injury concern or something. But he did commit to the team before the tournament started. It was just that injury kept him sidelined for it. I'm sure that he really missed being out there, especially with how big the tournament was. Man, if we would have had Logan Webb in, say, that championship game, I don't know if that could have changed some things, but I'd like to think it would. He's known for his great sinker. It's kind of insane, the seasons that he's been able to put together. He's really been like a very reliable guy with his health. And I'm almost afraid to say that because I feel like me saying that, not that I have like a ton of power in this, but I almost feel like me saying that is going to induce some sort of freak injury. So we'll see what happens. But he's the only guy over the last 2 complete seasons of MLB baseball, 2023 and 2024, that has pitched over 200 innings. He had 216 even in 2023 and 204 and 2/3 in 2024. So not only is he a guy that's durable, he's also stable. He's someone who you can rely on in big situations. He's reliable too. So durability, stability, reliability, all of those are things that I would associate with Logan Webb, and I trust in his ability. There's a lot of abilities here. But I do trust in his ability to perform and clutch up for Team USA in a big moment. He performs best when the lights are brightest, so he would be a fantastic addition for Team USA to have. And again, very complimentary to that arm of Paul Skeens. So looking on to the next guy, he's a 7-time All-Star, 2018 World Series champion, and he did pitch the final out of that World Series. It's got to be Chris Sale. So this one really gets to me, man, because as I was creating this presentation, Chris Sale, like literally the day after I finished it, and it takes time, obviously, to do some of this stuff. The day after I finish it, Chris Sale fractures his rib cage diving for a little dribbler that's like slightly off the mound, and it's just like it happened in the 9th inning too, and it's like, man, what are you doing that for? So yeah, fractured ribs. Hopefully he's back by mid-August. I think that's a very conservative timeline, and hopefully the Braves are in a position to be competing for a playoff spot, or maybe they're vying for a wild card spot or something like that, and he's able to contribute to that in some sort of significant way. I think the longer of a terminal portion of the season that he can have, the better of a chance there is that he'll be able to participate in the WBC. I don't pretend or profess to know the rules that surround like the injuries with guys and what keeps teams, I guess what can allow a team to block them from participating. I don't think that information is necessarily public. At least if it is, I haven't found it. But it seems like every time I hear something about it, it's something different. So I'm not really going to throw out any specific timelines or anything like that. But I do know that if you are injured toward the end of the year, it does seem to be the case that a team is able to block you from participating. So, yeah, I really hope that Chris Sale is able to return just because of that. He's obviously got that really funky delivery, that sidewinder left-handed arm, and that is just, that's a filthy thing to try to hit. I just don't think a lot of guys from other countries are going to be accustomed to his pitching motion and also just like his power with pitching. He's got great off-speed stuff. He's got a pretty good fastball still. His arm's very live, and he's still very clearly excelling in the strikeout department. So, He's also a guy that I think could potentially come out of the bullpen and play that role for Team USA. Hopefully, if he is able to return and the Braves are willing to let him participate and he's also willing, I think he would be a great person to come out of the bullpen and pitch like the most crucial innings of a game, whether that's bridge innings, closing innings, or I trust him starting too. So opening innings, any type of scenario that Chris Sale wants to pitch in is fine with me. Any inning from him is preferable. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Chris Sale. The next guy that we have is very similar to Chris Sale in the role that I think they can play. They're both kind of veteran guys that, again, kind of like Skeens, I think can help attract other people to come and participate. And that guy is our right-handed option for that. It's Zach Wheeler. Interestingly enough, I think Chris Sale's arm angle when he pitches is like 2 degrees or something. It's like very, very sidearm. Don't quote me on that, by the way. I probably got it wrong. But Zach Wheeler's is like in the low 20s or mid 20s. So he's also got kind of a sidewinding arm angle as well. But I look at Zach Wheeler. He's a guy that has obviously a lot of success in the MLB, and for good reason. He's been around for a long time. He's played for some pretty good teams. Over his 10 playoff starts, he has like a 2.4 ERA, something like that. And I think another thing that kind of similar to Logan Webb, he's just always available, man. The last time this guy, and I had a hard time believing this until I Googled it for myself. I went year by year to make sure it was true. The last time he threw less than 150 innings, not including the 2020 season, was 2018. So Zach Wheeler is, I don't want to pencil him in because you can't pencil anyone in June, especially not for pitchers. But yeah, I feel very confident in his ability to be available to pitch in this thing. So he's got that big game experience with the playoffs. He's familiar with the pressure of situations like that I think are pretty comparable to the WBC. I could definitely see him in a starting role for a really big game. He's just, he's kind of like Chris Sale, our veteran glue guy with a lot of confidence. I think Zach Wheeler has more of a quiet confidence, and I have a lot of confidence in his ability to succeed in this tournament and be a real contributing member to this pitching staff if he's willing to do it. The next guy that I have, we're going to go back to a left-handed arm. He's really having a breakout season this year. It's Garrett Crochet. So he's another guy who just has a very funky delivery. And I think the reason why I like that, and I touched on this with Chris Sale, is that I just don't think teams are going to be able, like other countries, through no fault of their own, are just not, they don't have a very high exposure to people who throw both weird and effectively. So Garrett Crochet, Chris Sale, they're very similar in my opinion to where their deliveries are kind of deceptive and they cause people problems. And I just see them being very successful against lefty-heavy lineups. I would love to see Sale and Crochet and even Fried come out in a lefty-heavy lineup and just absolutely dominate. I watched one of his highlights over the weekend of him pitching to Juan Soto. And, man, guys, Juan Soto is one of the best hitters of our generation, but you wouldn't know it from that video that I watched. It just looked, Garrett Crochet completely bullied him. It was awesome. I love what he's doing this year. Obviously, the walks aren't necessarily desirable, but it's give and take. With those strikeout numbers, I'll take a little more walks. His whip is still very low, so I don't think that the walks necessarily hurt him as much as some other people. I could also see him coming out of the bullpen sometimes, hopefully, for Team USA. I think he's kind of a Swiss Army knife of sorts. He's like a very essential puzzle piece to this rotation because he can play in a lot of different roles. So, yeah, he's got elite stuff, elite fastball and slider combo. Garrett Crochet would be a highly, highly effective member of this rotation. Even with all these names present, I still think he would even potentially be one of our best options, if not the best option. So now I want to turn our attention a little bit to the bullpen. For tier one, I only have two bullpen arms, and they're the guys that I would just prefer to kind of be our right-handed and left-handed closers. So, um, this first guy that's our right-handed option might surprise some of you. I have Mason Miller in this role, and the reason why is because of his peripheral stats. I said earlier that the way how I analyze starting arms and bullpen arms is a little bit different. And with bullpen arms, I'm definitely someone who buys into those like analytical stats a little bit. So his expected ERA is actually significantly lower than his real ERA. By the way, these stats are about a week old at the time of filming this. I just didn't have time to run through them and update them before I did this. And truth be told, I've tried to film this like 3 times already, and I just want to go to bed. So I'm putting this out there now. His expected ERA, as of last night at least, was 3.11. So that's like in the 80th percentile. That's pretty good. I think that alone to me is indicative that he's not having as bad of a year as his numbers say. Obviously, you can look at the K percentage, his strikeout percentage, and it's very impressive. My one concern with Mason Miller is walks. But I watched him pitch in the All-Star game, and, he was, I would argue, effectively wild there. He faced Ohtani and got him out in 4 pitches, struck him out on a very, very good backdoor breaking, kind of like a front hip breaking ball. And Ohtani lost his balance kind of swinging for it. So when I see Mason Miller, I look at more of the potential. And if I can just read some of his stats to you that aren't on this, like his expected batting average, again, this is one of those analytical stat type things. It's .183, so that ranks exceptionally well for pitchers in the MLB. It's in the 99th percentile. His fastball velo, he's obviously got the fastest fastball in the MLB right now. He's 1 of 1 there. His whiff percentage is 98th percentile. His chase percentage is in the 98th percentile. His whiff percentage is in the 99th. And his strikeout percentage is in the 99th. And the average exit velocity, he's in the 78th percentile there as well. So if you look at his baseball savant, you might understand a little bit more clearly as to why I'm picking him for this role. There are some closers that are right-handed options that have better numbers. I just don't think that they have the stuff that Mason Miller does. So for those reasons, I'm going with Mason Miller as my guy. Plus, he is a little bit younger, and he's got a great story. If you didn't know, he found out he was a type 1 diabetic in college and was able to get treatment for it and overcome it and really ramp up his velocity. And, just to give you an idea of who this guy is, I'm just a fan of him as a person. His rookie year, while he had all that fame kind of coming to him all at once, and he was still able to be nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. So I feel like he's not only a good pitcher, but just a good person. I think that's someone that you got to have in your clubhouse. Our left-handed closing option is going to be none other than Josh Hader. So Josh Hader is having a really good season right now. In the 2024 postseason, he struggled a little bit, but the Astros, I would argue, struggled a little bit just in general. So I don't know if it was necessarily a him problem. Might have just been a culture thing. But for Josh Hader, his strikeout percentage is just, it's 1 of 1. He's the best. His chase percentage, he's 1 of 1. His strikeout percentage, he's in the 99th percentile. His walk percentage is, I'm sorry. I got all these stats wrong, guys. Let me just read them to you really quick. I'll read them in order. That way I don't sound like a fool. Expected ERA, he has the best in the league. Expected batting average, it's the lowest in the league, which is obviously the best. Chase percentage, best in the league. Whiff percentage in the 99th percentile. Strikeout percentage, best in the league. Walk percentage in the 90th percentile. So when you get a guy who's this good as a bullpen arm, typically walks is a little bit of a concern. He doesn't walk people, which is probably why his whip is so low right now. He's got really good control and really good stuff. I think Josh Hader is the only left-handed closing option right now for Team USA that I can legitimately consider. I can't put anyone over him at the moment just because of how good of a season he's having. And he's been on winning teams before. So I know that he's used to a big moment. Even if last year he struggled in the playoffs a little bit, I'm not going to put all my stock into that. If Josh Hader says that he wants to participate in this thing, he's coming. So let's summarize Tier 1. That's all the guys that I got. I have 5 left-handed pitchers, 4 right-handed pitchers. So the right-handed pitchers are Skeens, Webb, Wheeler, Miller, and our left-handed options are Skubal, Fried, Sale, Crochet, and Hader. So try to go and aim for like a high level of lefty-righty balance here. Honestly, man, when you look at these names, I don't really know what else you could want. I think we have every role filled. We have veteran glue guys. We have young power arms. We have finesse and control guys. We have people that have kind of like a very high upside in somebody like Mason Miller, for example. All of these guys are probably able to excel in multiple roles in the WBC, whether it's bridge innings, whether it's opening innings. I really believe that if we could get even... I don't want to shoot too low, man, because when you make these things, like, you really want everyone to show up, but even if we can get half of these names, guys, I really mean this. I think this is the best. This would hands down be the best rotation the WBC has ever seen. So I want to look at Tier 2 guys now, and they're kind of like my strong considerations. Again, I think that they would be great supplements. A lot of them are knocking on the door of becoming Tier 1 guys. Some of the reasons why, I'll just tell you preliminary, like, some of them aren't having great seasons, but we know who they are. We know the success that they've had. Some of them are having really good seasons, and I just want to see more from them for a little bit longer. And then some of them are very big names that, my concern is mostly just availability for the tournament and willingness. So let's get into it. I think we have 12 names here. So I got Chris Bubic, Spencer Strider, Hunter Brown. I don't want to spend too much time on every single one of these guys. So just very quickly, if you don't know Chris Bubic, he's just not like kind of on the national radar yet. But he's quietly turning into a very effective weapon for the Royals. He's been a very reliable pitcher. I think he's a guy that can definitely go to that like bullpen flexibility as well. Chris Bubic would be a great addition to Team USA. I'd be very excited to have him. He's having a great year, so shout out to him, man. He deserves to be considered for this. Spencer Strider, this might be a guy that you might be like, you might be a little bit surprised that he's not in Tier 1. Excuse me. It's not really a talent thing with Spencer Strider. His numbers aren't great right now. But I know who Spencer Strider is. I have confidence in his ability to succeed. It's just kind of the injury thing. His 2025 campaign has been completely derailed by injuries. So as long as he's able to bounce back and be available for this, he's definitely a guy that I think should be invited to participate. And I really hope that he would choose to do it. I can't remember really if he had the chance to do it in 2023, but where he's a younger guy, I think you have a little bit more of a chance at convincing him of it. Hunter Brown, this is another guy that I have written down here that I think could be a great flex option. I mean, he throws gas. He's got very, very good underlying metrics. Like, if Hunter Brown could give you 2 bridge innings out of the bullpen, I feel very confident that those innings are going to be, any sort of damage that can happen to you is going to be very limited. So I think he's not necessarily like dominant enough for Tier 1 yet, but I do see him eventually becoming that if he can continue what he's doing right now. I have a lot of confidence in his ability to succeed, and I think he's definitely a name that needs to be in strong consideration right now. Moving on to our next 3 guys, I got Hunter Green, Jacob deGrom, Carlos Rodon. So Hunter Green, I really want him to participate. Again, if you didn't know this, I am a Reds fan, but that's not just why I want him to participate. I feel like obviously he's really well known for his fastball, but he's really becoming a very good pitcher. Like, he's not just a guy who has a fast fastball. He's got a great slider. I know he's developing some other pitches right now, and I like his mentality. I like the intensity that he pitches with. For me, Hunter Green is a guy that if he can get healthy, I know he's got a groin strain right now. It seems like it should be a pretty short shelving for him in terms of like being on the IL. So hopefully that holds true and it doesn't continue to aggravate him. This is a recurring injury now, though. He did go out earlier in the year with a groin strain, and this is his second stint on the IL because of it. So this time I hope that the Reds athletic training staff and doctors are able to really work with him to rehab that. And in my opinion, there's no rush to get him back. We have good prospects enough to be able to handle our business while he's not, actively playing. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that where any team that he would be on is going to be more successful because of him. Moving on to Carlos Rodon, I'm going to do Jacob deGrom last on this one. I'm going to go a little bit out of order. I think Rodon could technically play for Cuba if he wants to. He probably won't. But he does have that eligibility. I think his dad is Cuban. But again, with him, it's like he's having a phenomenal year this year. Him and Jacob deGrom are having phenomenal years this year. But I can't. If my goal here is to present you with names in Tier 1 that are guys that I really, really believe in being available and willing to do the tournament, I cannot realistically put Carlos Rodon and Jacob deGrom in that tier because I just don't think, I don't know how the injury clauses work. And they definitely are guys that have been subject to injuries previously in their career. I mean, multiple times. They've had multiple season-ending injuries. So hopefully we're able to get Rodon, and hopefully he's willing to do it because that would be another left-handed power arm, and man, I'm all for that. Like, the more lefties we can have, the better. I don't think that you need probably more than 6, but yeah, I'd love to have as much righty-lefty balance as we possibly can. With Jacob deGrom, it's the same situation. Like, I just don't know where he's going to be in 2026, like during the spring. I mean, his health history is just flat out brutal. So I have the utmost respect for Jacob deGrom, and I do think that if he were to come and do this, that would really bring a huge, huge name to this pitching staff. That would really legitimize it and really make it Team USA's. So we'll see. I mean, he's one of the greatest pitchers of our generation when he's healthy. He's obviously got like Cy Young level dominance and elite command, elite stuff. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see on him. These next 3 guys that I got are bullpen options. I have Devin Williams, Tanner Scott, and Ryan Helsley. So kind of similar situation on this slide as I didn't necessarily do that on purpose, but yeah, some of these guys are grouped together for kind of a reason. Devin Williams, I think he's obviously got that disgusting changeup, one of the most nasty pitches I've ever seen a guy throw, and thankfully he plays for the Yankees and not the Brewers anymore, so I don't have to see it as often. But yeah, he has the ability to really mess some guys up. He's just got I don't know if it's like health problems with him right now or something like that. I'm just speculating as to why his numbers aren't necessarily great. So I'd like to see his performance bounce back a little bit before I'm willing to fully trust him in Tier 1. Again, I feel like when you look at his peripheral stats, they rank relatively well, but I need to see his performance come up a little bit in reality rather than just metrics. Tanner Scott is a guy who when I was doing my 15-man kind of list, he was there, but his numbers were really hard to justify putting him there. Luckily, he has bounced back in a pretty big way for the Dodgers, and he's kind of going on the right road now, so hopefully that continues. If it does, I have no doubt that he'll be invited to do this. Ryan Helsley, I think he's kind of weird to just mention out his age outright, but yeah, I mean, he's 30 years old now, but he's still got an elite fastball. He's kind of struggled this year as well in terms of performance, but I'm not super worried about Ryan Helsley. He's pitched in big games before, and there's some caveats to that. I'm sure you Cardinals fans will know what I'm talking about, but he's pitched in big games before, so I don't think he'd necessarily be afraid of the moment. And he's a guy that's had enough success, at least during the regular season, for me to fully trust him at the WBC. I said this before. It's easier to get bullpen arms to do this than it is starting pitchers. So these are some of the best options for the bullpen, just in terms of stuff that I think USA has. We'll see if they're able to convince them to do it, or if they even really want them to. So moving on to the last three names, I've got Brian Wu, Nathan Eovaldi, and Mackenzie Gore. This video is getting a little bit long, so I don't want to go too much into depth with this. Mackenzie Gore, he's got filthy stuff, left-handed arm. If you don't know too much about him, I recommend you maybe go watch like a start on MLB TV or something. He's really good, and I think he could also be a guy potentially can flex into the bullpen as well. Nathan Eovaldi, he was having a really good season until he went down. Hopefully he comes back soon. I think he's supposed to. If he does and he continues to do really well, yeah, that's a guy that we 100% need for Team USA. Brian Wu, kind of another under-the-radar guy. I feel like all the Mariners pitchers are kind of under-the-radar guys, to be honest with you. But while he's still kind of early in his development, I think that he's definitely like... He's got a really live arm. He's got good command. I see him in being able to contribute in a significant role if we need him to for this team. So I just believe in his ability, and that's why I put him here. So this is Tier 2. Just recapping, right-handed options are Strider, Brown, Green, DeGrom, Williams, Helsley, Wu, and Eovaldi. And for left-handed options, I have Bubic, Scott, Rodon, and Gore. So this one's obviously a lot more right-handed heavy. You probably would have thought, after looking at that Tier 1, that guy has too many lefties on the list. But, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get everyone from Tier 1 and Tier 2. So that's why I put a lot of lefty options in that Tier 1 list. But, yeah, these are all guys that I think can step up in a big moment and perform well. And I think a few of them even have the ability to completely dominate any team that they come across still. So, yeah, they'd be great supplements to what we have in Tier 1. They'd be very welcome additions. These are their stats as of June 23rd, 2025. You see that little asterisk up top? I know you do. So nothing... if you're a big stats guy, you can go ahead and pause this, look at everyone, and compare them. I think some of the things that I look at the most are just strikeout potential, especially for bullpen guys and guys that I kind of foresee in roles being able to flex to the bullpen. I mentioned Mackenzie Gore probably, and Garrett Crochet could do that. And, well, that's why. It's because of those strikeout numbers. I don't think we're really seeing anything too jarring here. These guys are all very good pitchers in their own respect. You have some guys that are having, I guess, off years, but if you look at them relative to the average in the MLB, they're still very good pitchers. So next, I just want to kind of give you the names that I have that I'm just loosely tracking. Jason Adam, he obviously did it last time for the 2023 WBC, and I remember that kind of like that line that we had, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. It seems like we would use Jason Adam, Devin Williams, and Ryan Presley. So, yeah, I would hope that if he's able to return, I think he'd be very good, just because he's having a fairly average season right now, but he's experienced that moment before. He has chemistry with a lot of the guys that I think are going to be returning to the team. Yeah, he'd be a welcome addition for sure. I probably shouldn't go into everyone on this list. I think the only other person I really want to talk about is Luke Weaver. He doesn't really have dominant stuff by any stretch of the imagination, really, but I'd say he's got average stuff, and the success that he's having is very impressive. I hope that he can continue to be that way for the remainder of the season. I know that he did recently go on the IL. By the time you see this personally, he's probably going to be off and pitching just fine. So, yeah, if his performance stays where it does, then I don't see any reason why you would leave him off. Yeah, guys, that's really it. I think just ending there is probably good. These are the pitchers that I have. Again, the reason why I decided to do it in tiers is just because it's way too difficult to pick out 15 names. We just simply don't have enough information on them, and we probably won't until the end of the MLB season. So, this is the best I could do right now. Not a lot of people really track pitchers, and if they do, some of their pitching lists, they can get, I don't want to say they're like weak, but they just get outdated pretty quickly. And I've already talked as to the reasons why. But yeah, I think this tier list is maybe even similar to what some WBC teams are doing right now, to where they're just tracking guys and seeing where they're at, marking people as either high priorities or just people that they want to keep in mind. That's why I tried to do it like this. So, yeah, that's really it. Look, you got a lot of stuff here. You've got flamethrowers, you've got control guys, you've got finesse guys, you've got guys that can pitch to contact and keep pitch counts low and consequently pitch through a number of people in the lineup. The usage rules for pitchers in the WBC are hyper restrictive. D-Row has said multiple times, it feels like his biggest complaint actually about the last tournament was not being able to fully use the pitchers how he wanted to. I think if you could give him like express permission, and this is obviously a little bit of an unrealistic expectation, but if you could give him express permission to use these guys at his own discretion, I think we'd see very good results in the WBC. But the reality is, because of the MLBPA, because of MLB ownership, that's probably not going to be the case. Yeah, I said it at the beginning of the video. Hopefully we can change the culture a little bit. And moving forward, these guys, when they pitch for the international team, when they pitch for the national team, they'll have the ability to be governed more by themselves than they are having to kind of bend the knee toward their MLB parent organizations and everything. So that's it, everyone. I thank you for watching this video. Thank you for sticking around this long. I really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.